You must love podcasts if you're listening to this. Do you want to start your own one or you already have one? Then follow Smarter Podcasting to get expert advice from me, Niall Mackay, the podcast guy. Since 2019, we've worked with over 40 podcasters, produced over 700 episodes, and helped many podcasts get to the top of the Apple Podcast charts. And right now, I'm offering you a professional edit for just $27. Click the link in the show notes. Welcome to another exciting episode of Smarter Podcasting. I'm your host, Niall Mackay, the podcast guy, and I am thrilled to have you join me today. I have been obsessed with podcasts since the Ricky Gervais show at the start of the millennium, and man, that makes me sound old. But that grew even more so after the phenomenon of Serial in 2014. I've seen this incredible medium grow and evolve from its humble beginnings of just a person and a mic to the global phenomenon that it is today. So I started my own podcast just as a hobby, and that has now grown to be one of the most well-known podcasts about life in Vietnam, where I've lived for 7 years and is in the top 10% of podcasts in the world. Smarter Podcasting is my way of sharing valuable insights, tips, and tricks that I've gathered throughout my journey. So whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, this podcast is for you. I honestly believe that everyone has a voice worth sharing, and I'm here to help you amplify that voice and reach your audience in the most effective way possible. If you're like me, you probably have started or want to start a podcast because it's your passion. But you then realized that that passion takes a lot of time and costs money. You've realized that you're creating such amazing content because you love it, but you're giving it away for free. This is a common problem for many podcasters, and you're probably thinking the same thing. How do I make money from my show? But you don't know where to start. And you may be similar to other people where you have unrealistic expectations about the potential financial returns. So in this episode, I aim to provide solutions through sharing different strategies for monetizing a podcast. I'll share insights and examples such as how to use advertising and how platforms like Patreon work. I'm going to share practical advice and highlight the challenges involved in podcast monetization, so you can gain a realistic understanding of this process. This episode will empower you with everything you need to know to monetize your podcast. I've been so excited to share this episode as I know it's something that nearly all podcasters are thinking of. If you do have any questions or you want to leave a message for me, then the link is in the show notes and I will feature it on the next episode. So let's get started. And make sure you listen to the end where you can enter my free giveaway. So how to make money from podcasting is one of the most common questions that I see being asked, often from people that haven't even started a podcast yet. First of all, right off the bat, before we even go any further, if your number one goal from podcasting is to make money, then you're probably in the wrong place right now. You can make money from your podcast, but it isn't easy. Like anything, it's unlikely to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen without a lot of upfront investment, time, and energy. One of my biggest pet peeves, one of the biggest things that annoys me the most, and I've seen this and I'm sure you have as well, when you watch a YouTube video or a live stream or you read a blog, and it tells you, oh, the number one side hustle, you're going to make money on the side. Start a blog, start a YouTube channel, or start a podcast. And they'll dedicate 1 or 2 lines to it and then send you off on your way as if that you can magically go off, just start one of these and suddenly the money's going to start flying in. It doesn't matter what one of these channels you choose. It's going to take an inordinate amount of time, energy, and dedication, and a lot of new skills to ever be able to make any money off of any of these. So you can do it, but it's going to take a lot of passion. And if you aren't already passionate about podcasting and you only want to do it as a way to make money, maybe go and rethink about what it is you want to do. Because if your number one goal is money, I wouldn't recommend podcasting as the best way to do it. And let's be honest, if that is your number one goal, that's going to come through in your podcast. People are going to be able to tell that, and it's going to make it even less likely that your podcast is going to succeed. I'm going to go through 7 strategies that you can use to monetize your podcast. So let's find out if you're going to be able to quit your job anytime soon. So the number one way that most people talk about, I even got asked about this yesterday, is advertising. So advertising to monetize your podcast. And this is a popular way. The way this works is ads are normally sold on a CPM basis, which is cost per 1,000 basis. So you can charge for advertising based on how many listeners that you have, which makes complete sense. The most valuable spots are going to be the pre-roll, which you can imagine is the beginning of your podcast, then the mid-roll in the middle of your podcast, and then the post-roll at the end of your podcast, which, let's be honest, the post-roll, you can imagine why that's the least valuable, because by that point, as you're a podcast listener like me, you're probably already skipping on to the next podcast. For an average 30-second ad at the beginning of your show, you're going to get about $18 for every 1,000 listens. For a 60-second ad, about $25. A 30-second pre-roll ad spot at the beginning of your show, $18, like I mentioned. 60 seconds mid-roll, about $30. This is per 1,000, remember, 1,000 listeners. A 25-second post-roll ad is the cheapest at about $10. So if you just do some math, a weekly show with about 1,000 listeners could generate about $43 per episode if you place those 3 ads. So if you do 1 episode every week, it's about $172 a month. Now, that's a good amount of money, and that will cover your basic costs for your editing tools and the software that you use. But it's not something you're about to quit your full-time job over for $172 a month. And this is the big one. This is the most important thing. 1,000 listeners maybe doesn't sound much. Maybe the people who have already got a podcast can tell you they might already have tens of thousands of listeners, because people do. But to get to 1,000 listeners would put you in about the top 5% of podcasts in the world. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but it isn't easy. And like anything, the key to monetizing is volume. So no matter which one of these strategies you use that I'm going to talk about today, you need to worry about volume. You need to get the number of listeners. And how do you get more listeners? How do you make a successful podcast? Is number one, quality content. This comes above everything. So when I see people asking in Facebook groups, how do I monetize my podcast? I've not even started one. They're totally coming at it from the wrong way. You need to focus on making a quality product that people enjoy and listen to, and then you can worry about monetization. So number one, quality content. Number two, promotion. You have to then promote your podcast in the right way. Like anything, you have to do promotion. So focus on this, and then you're going to get success in whatever form that means for you. Number two, another way to monetize your podcast is with memberships and gifts. So you've probably heard of Patreon, and there's other similar membership platforms too. These are where you ask your followers, your listeners, to donate to support your show. So it can be anywhere from as little as $1 a month up to hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per month, depending on the benefits that you're going to give them. The key here is to create tiers that give value to your listeners, but also to you. So don't create a tier where they're going to donate $5, $10 a month, but it's then going to take you hours and hours to fulfill that tier, send them stuff, make new bonus episodes. Suddenly you're making yourself do all this extra work for just an extra few bucks. And then on the flip side, make sure as well you're not offering tiers that don't really give any benefit to the listener, so they're less likely to join. One of the biggest surprises that I learned when I started my Patreon was that you can offer a tier with 0 benefits. And this will be your cheapest tier, maybe just $1 or $2. And you can actually just put the benefit is you're supporting the show. You don't actually have to give anything extra. And this is one of my most popular tiers as well. So one of my favorite content creators, Julie Nolke, she was the Canadian actress and comedian who created that video she created many videos, but the one that went viral was during the pandemic when she was talking to herself. And it was explaining the pandemic to her past self. And this went massively viral. She has 5 tiers on her Patreon, which for just $2 a month gives you early access to her videos. It goes all the way up to $100 a month, and that will give you access to all of the benefits. And then you get blooper reels and all this crazy cool content sent to you. You even get signed postcards. Now, when I last looked at her Patreon, she had 617 patrons. That's what they call them, Patreon patrons. So even if we just do some quick maths, we average it out that the average patron was giving $5 a month. That would mean she's making $3,000 a month from these 617 Patreons. That's incredible. But like I said, it takes hard work, dedication, and energy. $3,000 a month is amazing, but it doesn't include all the time, energy, and hard work that she put in. And I've watched her talk about this for years with almost no benefits at all, not making any money, doing it because she loved it and she had fun. And eventually she went viral, and now suddenly she's making thousands just from Patreon, then obviously more from YouTube advertising as well. So my Patreon follows a similar strategy. I have a really low starting point, as I said, $1 a month with no benefits, and people enjoy that just because they want to support you, and then it kind of tiers up from there. I advise creating at least 5 tiers. So you want to do one at the bottom, really low, then create a really high one, almost one that nobody's really going to do. If you know the show, The Best Ever Food Review Show, one of the biggest YouTube channels on YouTube, their top tier, I think, is like $1,000, and you get like all these crazy benefits. For me, I think it's like $40, $50 a month, not really expecting anyone to do that. Then you have 3 tiers in between that offer staggered benefits that people are more likely to do. So I'd recommend 5 tiers, 1 really low, 1 ridiculously high, and then 3 more attainable in the beginning. My other big recommendation when talking about a podcast, and I say people ask before they've started it, should they monetize? Whether you've started or not, set up your Patreon immediately. My biggest regret was taking too long. I was like, I'm going to wait till I'm a certain size. I'm going to wait till this time. I should have just started it right from the beginning. Even if you only have a couple of people join, it doesn't cost you anything. And you're going to start to build that community, which is another really important part that I don't touch on today, but building a community is a huge part of building a successful podcast. So if you create that Patreon right away, you're already starting to build your community. And whatever people give you, obviously, it makes a big difference. And it feels really good. It feels awesome when people actually want to support your podcast. So another strategy is to ask for one-off gifts. And you can do that with several platforms. You've probably heard of the one called coffee.com. I use another one called coffee.com, but it's spelled ko-fi.com. They're all really similar. The reason I chose the ko-fi.com was they didn't take any fees. And so, but they all do pretty similar from there. You will get paid out into PayPal. And if you're familiar with PayPal, you're probably going to get charged a fee if you withdraw that. So like anything, there's always fees, but just be aware of that as well. They're all really similar though. The concept is buy me a coffee. You can send me a few bucks and I'm going to take that and go and buy a coffee. They obviously don't expect you that you need to buy a coffee. You can do anything you want. You can even change the wording as well to things like buy me a beer. And I just tell my listeners, if you want to prefer beer, I do like my coffee, but I prefer beer. If you want to buy me a beer, send me a few bucks. And, the best feeling in the world is when I wake up in the morning, check my emails, and then there's an email from Tan in Germany, one of my listeners, and he sends me a few bucks. And he's like, hey, go buy yourself a beer. And I remember last Christmas, he sent me one. So I went out to a German beer hall. He's from Germany, bought myself a beer, took a picture of it, posted it on social media, tagged them, sent it to him, and I was like, hey, thanks. So I did directly take his money and then buy a beer with it. And you start to build this relationship with your fans, which is amazing. Number 4, another way to monetize your podcast is affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is where you partner up with different brands and you get a tracking link and you share this link on your blog, on your emails, in your podcast. And then if one of your listeners, followers clicks that link and then buys the purchase, you will get a small commission. So if you look at any of my materials, as my website, my emails, the partners that I have are NordVPN, Best Buy, Descript, Canva, and Fiverr. Now, there's so many different affiliate platforms out there. Go out and you can just Google and find them. I'm part of one called Impact. There's another one called ClickBank, which is one of the biggest ones. I believe this one's only available for US customers. I think Impact is only available for US customers as well, but I somehow managed to slip in there, so I'm able to use that. And you can also apply directly to individual brands as well, which I have done. So if you're ever using a product and you want to know, can I be an affiliate partner for this? Just go to their website or just Google like for example, NordVPN, affiliate partner, and it will take you not to the main homepage, but to the affiliate partner website, and then you can put in an application. Your application will be approved, depends on the traffic of your website or your email list or how big your podcast is, whether you'll get approved or not. But if you do, then you can start to share that link. And then, as I said, when people click that link and if they make a purchase, then you will get a commission from that as well. So try and make sure that you find brands that match your podcast. So don't be false or fake. Promote the products that you use. And the best thing of all, 60% of podcast listeners have bought something from a podcast ad. So instead of inserting ads into your podcast, like I mentioned, and you get maybe $18 for every 1,000 listeners, you could actually put in an ad that you create yourself, because people like to listen to ads from the podcast host. And then if people click that link, buy the product, you're going to get a commission. So in my mind, affiliate marketing could potentially be more lucrative than putting in paid ads. Because as I mentioned, for 1,000 listens, you're going to get maybe $18. You put an ad that you've created on your podcast for 1,000 listens with a link to buy it. And then someone purchases that, you can get a commission of up to $40 or $50 rather than just 18 for an ad. So it could be more lucrative. And then some of the affiliates, like Descript, for example, which is the podcast editing software, if they sign up for a monthly plan, you'll actually get a 15% commission every month for the first 12 months. You'll get an ongoing commission for the rest of the year. So the biggest thing is make sure that you work with partners that you believe in, that you've used, and that you can vouch for as well, and that fit into your niche as well. On my podcast, a Vietnam podcast, the one I promote the most is NordVPN, because most of my listeners are in Vietnam and many people in Vietnam use a VPN. If I was to promote Descript, which is a podcast editing software, as I mentioned, on a Vietnam podcast, it's not really the audience for that, so it's going to be less likely to be successful. So whatever your podcast is about, make sure that you promote those kind of affiliate links. And once you're on these platforms, you can find so many different brands that you can partner with. If you're like a travel podcast, tourism, get on one of the highest paid commissions are hotels and airlines. You can partner with airlines. You share that link and you'll get a commission from people's flights. So look into that as well. Fifth strategy is sell merchandise on your podcast. Now, this is one of the strategies that I haven't done and I would not recommend, okay? It's really low on the monetization strategies, primarily because the markup on merchandise can be quite low, especially compared to a $40 affiliate commission. To make $40 off of merchandise, you're maybe going to have to sell something that's worth $80 or more to make that $40. But the biggest thing as well is it takes a lot of time to fulfill that. If you're selling merchandise, it means, first of all, you have to go purchase the merchandise ahead of time, get it printed, get it made, have it stocked in your house. Then you're going to have to take the orders and then fulfill them. So then you're going to have to take more time sending them, packaging them, getting them to the people. So that means it takes you a lot of time and energy to do that, leaving you with little time and energy. And the main thing we want to do here is be efficient and see how we can make money the easiest. You know, I wouldn't recommend selling merchandise. It takes a lot of time and energy to do that. I wanted to share with you about one of my favorite affiliate partners, and that is Fiverr. I've been using Fiverr for years for everything from ordering YouTube thumbnails to keyword research, writing podcast articles, even to Canva designs and thumbnails and more. So whether you're a budding entrepreneur, a podcaster, or anyone in between, Fiverr has got you covered. It really is the go-to platform if you want to find freelancers offering a massive range of services to help you on any project. Maybe you need a stunning new logo or just a short animation. Whatever you need, you can find it on Fiverr. What I love the most is how easy Fiverr makes it to connect with talented freelancers from around the world, all at prices that will fit whatever your budget is. Plus, with Fiverr's secure payment system, you can trust that your transactions are safe and secure. No dodgy people you meet on Facebook groups that disappear with your money and never give you what you want. What, that's only happened to me? As an affiliate partner, I will get a small commission if you use the link and at no extra cost to you. As an affiliate partner, I will get a small commission if you click my link and you buy something, all at no extra cost to you. And best of all, you will be directly supporting the making of this podcast that you're listening to for free, but it is not free to make. So why wait? Head over to somewhere that you've probably never been before. It's called the show notes. So whatever app you're listening in, if it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything at all, head to the show notes, click on my special link, and then you can browse thousands of gigs ready to help you with your next project. Now, number 6, if you already have a product, then you can use your podcast to sell that because it means you already have the systems in place to do that. So again, you need to make sure it fits your niche or it's generic enough that it's going to apply to your listeners. If you already sell beer and you have a podcast about beer, then you should absolutely use your podcast to sell fashion products. No, I'm kidding, not fashion products, to sell beer. So make sure that you can sell products, but I would only recommend it if you already sell them, you have the systems in place, and then you can use your podcast to do that. But again, make sure your podcast fits that. If you have a knitting store, a knitting podcast, and you have a knitting store, then that's perfect. Then you can sell those products. I would absolutely do that. And then last one, number 7, is monetize your podcast by either creating an online course or offering your consulting services. And this is probably one of the best ways to monetize your podcast. Since long before the pandemic, but obviously greatly accelerated, people are now learning online more than ever and paying to do so. So if you have a skill at all, you can create your own online course and sell that, and also sell your consultancy services online as well. So if you're a singer, you can create a course, teach someone how to sing. You can offer your consultancy services. You could meet with them online on Zoom and teach them how to become a better singer. I've mentioned it a few times, as long as it matches the niche of your podcast. But again, it's not a quick and easy process. And this is something, again, I see all the time. Oh, start a YouTube channel, start a podcast, start a blog, create an online course. All the money is going to come flying in. It's so easy. It's not easy. It takes time and energy, but you can do it. And then it makes a perfect match for your podcast. I'm about to start a podcast with a new client about the restaurant business. She's an expert in the food and beverage industry, and she's going to be using it to sell her consultancy services, which she already does. It's just another vehicle to market what she does. So I've just launched my first ever online podcast course. So I'm going to be taking people from the beginning to expert in just 1 week, showing them how to create their podcast. It wasn't easy. It's taken me about a year. I remember it was January 29th last year, and I did kind of get suckered in. I'm going to start a course. It's going to take me a couple of weeks. I started it, and then I shared it with someone, and they were like, no, this is garbage. You'll be able to sell this for about $1. I was like, oh my goodness. So being the perfectionist that I am, I went away and redid it, been working on it, and it's been now a year, and I'm only now ready to launch it. So I would recommend doing a course. You don't need to take a year to do it. You can get it started quickly. Consultancy services obviously can be done a lot quicker, but if done right, it's the best way to monetize your podcast. So check out my new podcast course. If you haven't started yet, then I really think it will be able to help you create your podcast. I've already had people do it already. I'm 100% success rate so far of all the people who've started and finished my course. They've all started their own podcast already, which makes me really, really proud as well. As you can guess, everything involves selling something. The money doesn't just fly in. It means you have to put yourself out there, promote it, sell it. Some people are uncomfortable with that, and that's completely normal. It's something that you will have to get over that a little bit. You will have to promote your product to be able to make money from it as well. My top tips to finish would be, first of all, set up a subscription website like Patreon and set up coffee.com. Have those links on your website, on your email. Promote it gently in your podcast every time. Start to create that community as well. I wouldn't worry about running ads. As I said, you're really not going to make much money from ads until you start to get bigger and bigger, over 1,000 downloads per episode. And once you do get that big, the ads are going to start coming to you as well. So I would look into getting associated with affiliate brands and start to promote them. So make sure those affiliate brands are in your niche. If you can earn enough in the beginning to cover your costs, I think you'll be doing pretty good. And then hopefully, eventually, you'll be able to start to quit your day job, which is what a lot of us want to do, right? But the biggest focus is, and I said it in the beginning, focus on making great quality content. Nowadays, you're competing in the content arena with so many different people. Used to be you could just whack up a podcast and people would maybe come and listen. Now you're competing against some of the big celebrities that have podcasts. A few years ago, barely any celebrities have a podcast. You want to make sure that you're making quality content. Get a good microphone, get good headphones, use Descript as your software, use good editing tools. Don't just make it like, even yesterday I was talking to one of my potential new clients and she went, well, can I just put my phone between us and I'll just record it? I was like, no. You can't do this anymore. You can't just record it on your phone, do no editing, put it up there and expect it to be good. Nobody's going to want to, for sure, pay for content like that. So focus on making the best quality content that you can. Follow these strategies and you will be able to be successful. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Smarter Podcasting. I hope you found it insightful and valuable. I want to hear from you, so please leave me a voice message. The link is in the show notes and you can be featured on the next episode of Smarter Podcasting. Let me know any questions or comments you have. And if you've kept listening to hear my giveaway, the first 3 listeners to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify and then share it with me will win a free 30-minute consultation with me. I've been fortunate enough to witness the incredible growth and impact of podcasting firsthand, continually building invaluable experience and knowledge along the way. So now I want to share my expertise with you through my podcast course. And if you've been listening to this episode, you'll know this is one of the best ways to monetize your podcast. Now, this course is for beginner podcasters just starting out, and it's designed to help you build your audience, connect with your community, and monetize your podcast effectively. In this course, we'll deep dive into the practical aspects of podcasting to get you started, covering everything from crafting compelling content to mastering audio production. But this course is not just about theory, it's a hands-on interactive experience. There's over 3 hours of video content, templates, PDFs, everything you need to get started. And I'll be personally guiding you through each step of the way, providing actionable advice and sharing my real-life examples from my own podcasting journey. You also have direct access to me, where I'll be able to help you with any questions you have throughout the whole process and after. So, if you're ready to turn your passion into a profitable podcasting venture, I invite you to enroll in my podcast course today. If you're not driving and you have hands available, then you can go to the show notes and click the link there, or visit my website at 7millionbikes.com, which is 7millionbikes, SEVEN, millionbikes.com to start your podcast journey today. Remember, your voice deserves to be heard, and with the right knowledge and strategies, you can transform your podcast into a thriving business. I can't wait to embark on this journey with you and see your podcast flourish. Thank you once again for joining me on Smarter Podcasting. Keep podcasting smarter, my friends, and I'll see you soon.
Hi, my name is Sal Jeffries. I run the Mindset, Mood and Movement podcasts. I've been working with Neil at 7 Million Bikes for the whole of this year, literally from the start of my podcast to date. And I want to say a couple of things. So when we record the podcast, sometimes there are things that I need tweaking. There could be edits or clips. It's really simple. I give those instructions to Neil, he gets it sorted. There's sometimes a sound level differences between the guest mic and mine. Again, that's all sorted so the outcome is a really balanced sound. And also if there are issues with voice, little kind of sound interruptions, all those things that can distract a listener, Neil knows exactly what to do, cleans it up. The end result, a highly professional, beautiful sounding podcast without distraction. That's exactly what I want. I know my listeners do. So if you're interested in having that level of podcast and that kind of quality, Neil is a great guy and I highly recommend you speak to him.